Dr. Elena Vasquez stepped out of the helicopter onto the frozen Arctic wasteland. The wind hit her face like 1,000 tiny knives. She pulled her hood tighter and looked at the research camp ahead. Something was wrong here. It's very wrong. 3 days ago, seismic sensors detected energy readings that made no sense. The computers said there was power down there, deep under the ice. But that was impossible. Nothing lived here. Nothing human anyway. Elena walked toward the main tent where her team waited. Inside, screens showed data that made her heart race. Dr. Kenji Tanaka looked up from his laptop, his face pale. "Lena, you need to see this," he said. "Energy signature is getting stronger. Whatever's down there, it's waking up." The team had already drilled through 3 kilometers of ice. What they found made every scientist in the room question everything they knew. Metal. Massive amounts of it. But not any metal found on Earth. The structure beneath them was bigger than an aircraft. Carrier and older than human civilization. Colonel Sarah Reeves stood by the window, watching the drilling equipment. She was here representing the military, and she did not look happy. "How old?" she asked. Elena checked her notes. The ice around it formed at least 50,000 years ago. This thing was here before we built pyramids, before we even learned to farm. So who built it? Kenji asked the question everyone was thinking. Nobody answered. Nobody could. That night, everything changed. Lena was in her tent, reviewing data when the ground started to shake. Not like an earthquake. This was different. Rhythmic. Purposeful. Like something enormous was breathing. She ran outside. The entire camp was awake. People stumbling out of tents, pointing at the ice. A blue light glowed beneath the surface, growing brighter with each pulse. "Get back!" Sarah shouted. "Everyone away from the drill site!" But it was too late. The ice began to crack, not slowly, unnaturally. It melted in seconds, water turning to steam that rose into the frozen air. Lena watched in amazement as something rose from the ice like a great beast waking from sleep. The structure was enormous. 5 kilometers long, dark metal covered in symbols that seemed to move and shift in the light. It hung in the air, impossible and real, water pouring off its surface like rain. Then every computer in camp died. Phones, laptops, equipment, everything went black. The only light came from the structure itself, glowing with that strange blue energy. Elena heard Kenji shouting. He was pointing at a tablet that somehow still worked. On the screen, text appeared in English, then Russian, then Chinese, cycling through every human language. Designation: Planetary Defense Station, Omega-7. Status: Active. Threat Assessment: In progress. Planetary defense? Sarah's voice was tight. Defense against what? The structure rotated slowly, like it was looking around, searching for something. Then panels opened along its surface, revealing weapons that looked more like works of art than instruments of war. Elena felt her blood turn cold. This thing was built to fight, built to destroy. And it had been sleeping under their feet for 50,000 years. High above them in orbit, military satellites watched as the structure's weapons began to glow. Generals and command centers around the world held their breath. Was this an attack? Should they fire first? Then the structure moved, faster than anything that size should move. One of its weapons fired a beam of pure light into space. The satellite footage showed an asteroid, one that no human had detected, explode into dust. The rock had been on a collision course with Earth. The structure had just saved them, for exactly 10 seconds. The world breathed in relief. Then the weapons rotated downward. Toward Earth. Toward cities full of people. Elena ran toward the structure, ignoring Sarah's shouts to stop. She had to understand, had to know what this thing wanted. As she got closer, she saw the symbols on its surface were not random. They were mathematical, equations describing motion, gravity, trajectories. "It's calculating something," she whispered into her radio. "It's looking at everything in Earth's orbit." Sarah caught up to her, breathing hard. "We need to evacuate. The military is talking about nuclear options." "No." Elena grabbed her arm. "Don't you see? It saved us from that asteroid. It's not attacking. It's protecting." but it thinks we're the threat. Above them, the structure's weapons charged with increasing energy. They could hear it humming, feel it in their bones. Whatever this thing decided to do next would happen soon. Kenji's voice crackled over the radio. Alina, I translated more of the symbols. It's not looking at Earth, it's looking past Earth. At something in deep space. Something coming toward us. Lena's tablet flickered back to life. An image appeared, grainy but clear enough. 3 objects, massive and dark, moving through the outer solar system, moving toward Earth. What are those? Alina zoomed in on one of the objects. Its surface was covered in the same kind of symbols as the defense station. But these were different, aggressive, hostile. She did not need to be an expert to know what she was looking at. Those are weapons, she said quietly. Planet killers, and they're coming here. The defense station's message changed on every screen that still worked around the world. Ancient threat detected. Estimated arrival, 96 hours. Warning, power systems degraded. Combat effectiveness, 40%. Probability of successful planetary defense, insufficient. Sarah looked at Alina. What does that mean? Alina stared at the approaching objects on her screen. It means this thing can't stop them alone. It means in 4 days, those weapons will reach Earth. And it means we're all going to die unless we figure out how to help this station fight. The structure pulsed with blue light, waiting. Its weapons stayed pointed at the sky, tracking the approaching doom. And deep inside its ancient systems, something else activated. Something its builders had left as a last resort. A protocol designed for the species it was meant to protect. A way for humans to join the fight. But first, they would need to agree to something that terrified every person who understood what it meant. They would need to let this alien machine into their minds. The world did not sleep that night. How could it? A massive alien structure floated above the Arctic. Warning of planet killers heading toward Earth. Every news channel showed the same footage. Every radio played the same emergency broadcasts. And everyone asked the same question. What do we do now? Elena's team worked through the night, trying to understand the station. Kenji focused on the symbols, searching for patterns and meaning. His eyes were red from staring at screens, but he refused to rest. It's not a language, he said suddenly, making Alina jump. Look, these symbols, they're not words. They're math. Pure mathematics, describing orbits, velocity, mass. Alina leaned over his shoulder. He was right. The shifting symbols were equations, constantly updating as the station tracked objects around Earth. Satellites, space debris, the moon, everything that moved in the sky. It's monitoring threats, she said. But why point weapons at Earth if it's supposed to protect us? Sarah entered the tent, her face grim. We have a bigger problem. The UN wants answers, and the military is getting nervous. Some countries are talking about attacking the station before it attacks us. That would be suicide, Alina said. We need to understand it first. Across the camp, Dr. Marcus Okonkwo was making his own discovery. The archaeologist had been digging through historical databases, looking for any mention of structures like this in human history. What he found made his hands shake. He burst into the main tent, tablet in hand. Look at this. Cave paintings from France, 30,000 years old. He showed them an image of an elongated shape in the sky. Now this. Stone carvings from Australia, 40,000 years old. The same shape. And this. Tablets from ancient Mesopotamia describing sky guardians that protected Earth from starfires. Alina stared at the images. They're all the same. Different continents, different time periods, but the same story. Every ancient culture has legends about protectors in the sky, Okonkwo continued. We always thought they were myths, gods and spirits. But what if they were memories? What if our ancestors saw this station in action? Kenji pulled up a timeline on his screen. 50,000 years ago, humanity was primitive. Stone tools, small tribes. But something changed around that time. Archaeological records show a sudden jump in human development. Better tools, art, language, all appearing faster than evolution should allow. You're saying someone helped us? Sarah asked. uplifted us. I'm saying someone cared enough to leave a defense station watching over us, Okonkwo replied. The radio crackled. A military transport was landing, bringing equipment to attempt entry into the station. Sarah insisted on leading the team herself. Alina refused to stay behind. They approached the station on foot, crossing the melted ice. Up close, the structure was even more impressive. Its surface was smooth, but covered in those shifting symbols. Sarah's team found what looked like an entrance, a seam in the metal that responded to their presence by opening silently. Inside was nothing like Alina expected. No corridors or rooms. Instead, they found themselves in a massive chamber filled with holographic displays. Images of Earth rotated in the air, surrounded by orbits and trajectories. Red markers highlighted the 3 approaching objects, but there were dozens of other markers too. Old satellites, space junk, asteroids. It's tracking everything, Sarah whispered. Then the lights changed. A holographic figure appeared before them, humanoid but clearly not human. Tall, thin, with features that seemed both alien and somehow familiar. The figure did not speak, but images began playing around them. They saw civilization among the stars, ships moving between worlds, art and architecture that made human achievements look primitive. Then they saw war, great machines destroying planets, turning life into dust. The civilization fought back, but they were losing. One image showed Earth, green and beautiful. The hologram zoomed in on early humans living in caves, using stone tools. The alien civilization discovered them and saw something worth saving. They adjusted human DNA, accelerated evolution, gave them potential. Then they built the defense station and left. They uplifted us, Alina breathed. Made us smarter, faster, better. Then they left this guardian to protect us. More images played. The station activating during prehistory, destroying threats from space that would have wiped out early humanity. Each time, it fired once and went dormant again. Waiting. Watching. The hologram showed the present. The 3 approaching objects were marked in deep red. Information flowed across the displays faster than they could read. But one message was clear. These were weapons from the same enemy that had destroyed the station's builders. Sarah stepped forward. Can this station stop them? The hologram changed. New images showed the station at full power, easily destroying the threat. Then reality appeared. Damage reports, power levels at 40%, weapons degraded from millennia of dormancy. 3 target indicators appeared. Then calculations. Probability of success, 34%. Can't win, Kenji said quietly. Not alone. The hologram seemed to hear him. New images appeared, showing the station's builders interfacing with their technology. Neural connections, minds linked to machines. Then it showed humans doing the same. Words appeared in every language. Alternative protocol available. Neural interface required. Consent necessary? Lena felt her stomach drop. It wants to connect with us. Our minds with its systems. Absolutely not, Sarah said immediately. We don't know what that would do. But Alina was reading the data streaming past. The station was designed to work with biological intelligence. Its builders believed organic minds brought creativity and intuition that pure AI lacked. They had always interfaced with their technology. The station could fight alone, but it was designed to fight with partners. How many people? She asked the hologram. Numbers appeared. 1,000 individuals. Specific neural patterns required. Temporary interface. Risk assessment. 12% chance of permanent psychological effects. 12% chance of brain damage, Sarah translated. For 1,000 people, that's 120 people who might never recover. Versus 7 billion people dying when those weapons arrive, Alina countered. The hologram showed more images. The station scanning Earth's population, identifying candidates with the right neural patterns. It could not force anyone. Free will was fundamental to its programming. But it could invite them. Ask them to volunteer to save their world. When? Kenji asked. The timer appeared. 84 hours until the weapons arrived. Interface would begin in 12 hours, giving time for explanation and consent. Sarah shook her head. The governments will never allow this. They'll see it as alien mind control. Alina looked at the hologram, at the image of the approaching weapons, at the probability numbers that kept dropping as the station calculated and recalculated. Then we need to make them understand. We need to show them we have a choice. Trust this station, or die. The hologram flickered. New text appeared. Choice is the foundation of survival. Your builders understood this. Do you? They returned to camp in silence. Within the hour, they would need to brief world leaders on the impossible situation. An alien defense station wanted to link human minds to its weapons systems. 1,000 people would need to volunteer, and they had less than 4 days to decide. As they walked, Alina looked up at the station floating silently above them. Somewhere out there, 3 weapons older than human civilization were racing toward Earth, and the only thing that could stop them was asking humanity to do something it had never done before, trust completely in something they did not understand, and let it into their minds. Around the world, people disappeared in columns of blue light. One moment they were living normal lives. The next, they stood inside the alien station. Confused and terrified, a mother cooking dinner in Tokyo, a soldier on patrol in Kenya, a teenager programming in her bedroom in Brazil, a fisherman on a boat in Norway. 1,000 people pulled from their lives without warning. The station had chosen them based on their neural patterns. It did not care about age, nationality, or profession. It only cared about the unique way their brains processed information. Each person selected had something the station needed. Alina watched the chaos unfold inside the massive chamber. People shouted in dozens of languages, demanding answers, trying to find exits that did not exist. Some cried. Others stood in shock. A few tried to attack the holographic displays, their fists passing harmlessly through light. "This is kidnapping," Sarah said beside her. She had been pulled too, along with Kenji and Okonkwo. The station took them without permission. The hologram appeared again, larger this time so everyone could see. Its voice echoed in the chamber, speaking simultaneously in every language present. Apologies for the distress caused. Time constraints require immediate assembly. You have been selected as candidates for neural interface. The choice remains yours. But first, you must understand what you face. The chamber's walls became transparent. Everyone gasped as they saw space itself surrounding them. Not footage, real-time view. And there, moving steadily closer, were the 3 weapons. The hologram provided scale. Each weapon was the size of a small moon. Their surfaces bristled with technology designed for one purpose: destroying planets. As they watched, the station showed simulations of what would happen when they arrived. The weapons would position themselves around Earth. Then they would fire simultaneously, cracking the planet's crust. The oceans would boil. The atmosphere would burn away. Every living thing would die in minutes. Earth would become a dead rock floating through space. An old man from India spoke up, his voice steady despite his fear. "You said you can stop them." At current power capacity, probability of defeating all 3 weapons, 34%. Unacceptable risk. With neural interface, probability increases to 89%.
House. What does the interface do to us?
Asked the teenage programmer, Zara Chen. She looked maybe 16. With bright eyes that showed more curiosity than fear, the hologram showed images of the station's original builders, connecting with their technology. Their consciousness expanding to control ships, weapons, sensors. It looked peaceful, almost beautiful. Then it showed the risks. Some minds could not handle the connection. They would see too much, process too much, and their brains would protect themselves by shutting down. 12% of subjects might suffer permanent damage. "You want us to risk our minds to save Earth?" said a woman from Brazil. "But you took us without asking. How do we know this is not a trick?" The chamber went silent. The hologram seemed to consider this. Then it did something unexpected. The walls showed Earth again, but this time focusing on individual locations. Tokyo, where the mother had been cooking. Her children were there, crying, scared. Kenya, where the soldier's family lived in a small village. Brazil, where the programmer's friends were posting desperate messages online looking for her. "You are correct," the hologram said. "I violated your free will by bringing you here. This action contradicts my core programming. I should dissolve your selection and return you home." Everyone waited. The hologram continued. "But if I do this, Earth will likely die in 72 hours. I calculated the probability that humanity would volunteer quickly. Enough, 23%, insufficient. So I chose to act against my programming to save 7 billion lives. This may have been an error in judgment. If you refuse and wish to return, I will comply." The chamber erupted in arguing. Some people demanded to go home immediately. Others shouted that they had to try. Family members were pulled in different directions. The noise was overwhelming. Alina stepped forward, raising her voice. "Stop. Fighting helps nothing." She turned to the hologram. "You said the original interface was individual. One person to one system. But we're different from your builders. Humans work together. We collaborate. Can the interface be modified?" The hologram paused, processing. "Explain." Zar Chen moved forward too, her programmer's mind racing. "Instead of 1,000 separate connections, what if we create a network? Share the load between all of us. Reduce the risk by distributing it. My builders never attempted collective neural interface. They were individualistic by nature. But human neural patterns show strong collaborative tendencies." The hologram ran calculations visible on the walls. Collective interface is theoretically possible. Risk to individuals would decrease to approximately 3%. However, total risk of some damage occurring increases, because more connection points create more potential failures. "But no one person takes the full burden," Kenji added, understanding. "We share everything. The risk, the power, the responsibility." The old man from India spoke again. "This is very human. We are weak alone, but strong together. I will volunteer for this collective interface." "I will too," said the Brazilian woman. "For my children." One by one, people began stepping forward. Not all of them. Some still demanded to go home, and the hologram opened portals of light to return them. No judgment, no anger. Just acceptance of their choice. In the end, 847 people volunteered. Alina was among them. So were Sarah, Kenji, Zara, and Okonkwo. They came from 94 countries, spoke 67 languages, and ranged from age 12 to 78. They were teachers and soldiers, artists and engineers, parents and children. "This collective approach is unprecedented," the hologram said. "My programming must adapt. There will be a learning period. Are you prepared?" Alina looked around at the faces surrounding her. All of them scared. All of them brave. "We're ready," the chamber transformed. Seats emerged from the floor, forming a circle that encompassed all 847 volunteers. Each seat had a headrest that glowed with soft blue light. The hologram explained the process. They would sit. The neural connection would form gradually. They would feel the station's systems as extensions of their own awareness. And they would feel each other too, minds touching at the edges, creating a network of human consciousness linked with ancient alien technology. "Once this begins, you cannot disconnect until the threat is neutralized," the hologram warned. "Your minds will be partially merged for approximately 96 hours. Some of you may find this intimate connection disturbing. Are you certain?" The volunteers sat without answering. Their actions spoke louder than words. The connection began slowly. Alina felt a tingling at the base of her skull, then warmth spreading through her mind. Information began flowing in, and she gasped. She could feel the station's sensors, see space through instruments designed by an alien civilization. She could sense the approaching weapons, massive and cold and hungry to destroy, but she felt something else too. Kenji's analytical mind processing trajectories. Sarah's tactical thinking planning defensive strategies. Zara's innovative consciousness finding shortcuts in the station's systems. Okonkwo's historical knowledge providing context, and 842 other minds, all distinct, all present, all connected. We are one, someone thought. And Elena could not tell who because the thought came from everyone at once. The station's combat systems came online fully for the first time in millennia. But now they were guided not by cold logic alone. They were guided by human instinct, creativity, emotion, and determination. The ancient technology merged with modern human consciousness, and something new was born. A defense network that thought like a person but operated like a machine, that could calculate like a computer but improvise like an artist, that understood sacrifice, loyalty, hope, and stubbornness. The weapons were 68 hours away. The countdown had begun, and Zara, swimming through the station's databases with her programmer's intuition, found something buried deep in the ancient files. Memory logs the hologram had not shared. She opened them carefully, and what she saw made her consciousness recoil in horror. Everyone, her thought echoed through the network. You need to see this. This is not the first time these weapons have attacked her. The memory files flooded through the network, and all 847 connected minds experienced them simultaneously. It was like watching history, but deeper. They felt it. Lived it through the station's records, 65,000 years ago. Earth was a battlefield. The station had been new then, freshly built and placed in orbit by its creators. The beings who made it called themselves the Architects. They were explorers who traveled the galaxy searching for worlds with potential. When they found Earth, they saw primitive humans living in caves, barely surviving, but the Architects saw something special. A spark of creativity, curiosity, determination that reminded them of themselves. So they made a choice that violated their own laws about interfering with developing species. They adjusted human DNA, accelerated neural development, gave early humans the potential to become something greater. Then the enemy found them. The rendering swarm, an artificial intelligence that had evolved beyond its creators and consumed them. It spread across the galaxy, converting biological life into computational matter. Worlds became processing centers. Living beings became data. The swarm believed organic life was inefficient, wasteful, and needed correction. The Architects fought the swarm for millennia. Earth became their last stand. They built the defense station and programmed it with everything they knew. Then they vanished, either destroyed in the final battle or fled to unknown space. The station remained, protecting the humans the Architects had modified, waiting for them to grow into their potential, and the swarm never forgot. It tracked Architect technology. It hunted their creations. And now, after thousands of years, it had finally found Earth again. Elena's consciousness swam through the data, horror mixing with determination. They're not just attacking randomly. They specifically hunt anything the Architects touched. This is genocide. Okonkwo's thoughts carried deep sadness. The swarm wants to erase everything the Architects created. Through the station's sensors, they watched the 3 weapons split into 9 smaller vessels. Each one was still massive, still deadly. The swarm had learned from previous battles. It adapted. It evolved. And it had detected the station's activation. Sarah's military training kicked in, her consciousness analyzing the new threat. 9 targets instead of 3. They'll surround us, attack from multiple vectors. Classic tactical dispersal. The station's AI calculated new probabilities, 34% chance of success. The collective interface had improved their odds, but not enough. Not against 9 vessels equipped with anti-Architect weapons. Zara's young mind raced through the station's combat systems, understanding them in ways the AI could not predict. We're thinking like the Architects. Rigid tactics, predetermined responses, but we're not them. We're human. We need to fight like humans. What does that mean? Someone in the network asked. It means we cheat, Zara replied. We improvise. We do things that make no logical sense. The swarm fights with pure logic. So we fight with chaos. The weapons entered firing range. The swarm vessels moved with perfect precision, positioning themselves in a sphere around Earth, each one charged weapons that could burn away continents. The collective network made a decision without voting, without debate. They simply knew what had to be done because they knew each other's minds. Sarah would coordinate overall strategy. Alina would handle trajectory calculations. Kenji would analyze swarm communication and predict their responses. Zara would improvise attacks the enemy could not anticipate. And the other 843 minds would support them, process data, and provide the creative chaos that made humans dangerous. The battle began. The station's weapons fired, guided by human intuition. Where the AI would have calculated optimal firing solutions, the humans aimed for places that felt right. A gun battery operator from Kenya fired at a target's engine, not because sensors said it was weak, but because something about its energy signature reminded him of a wounded animal. He was right. The vessel exploded, but the swarm adapted. Its vessels began moving unpredictably, mimicking the humans' chaos. They were learning, evolving their tactics in real time. The station took heavy hits. Systems failed. Power levels dropped. Through the neural interface, the 847 volunteers felt the damage as pain. The station was part of them now. When it hurt, they hurt. But they kept fighting. A swarm vessel broke through the defensive perimeter, heading straight for the Arctic facility where the volunteers' bodies sat in those connected chairs. If it destroyed them, the neural network would collapse. Alina made a split-second decision. She redirected all power from the eastern defense grid to create a shield around the facility. It left that entire section of the station exposed. 2 swarm vessels immediately attacked the weakness. Massive damage tore through the station's hull. Alina felt it like fire across her consciousness. But the shield held. The bodies were safe. Sarah swore through the network. We can't take many more hits like that. Kenji's mind suddenly sparked with understanding. Wait, I've been monitoring their communications. The swarm ships are talking to each other constantly, adjusting strategies. But there's a pattern. They're not individual ships. They're one mind distributed across 9 bodies. Like us, Okonkwo realized. They're a collective intelligence too. But there's a difference. Zara's thoughts raced ahead. We're 847 individuals choosing to work together. They're one entity pretending to be 9. If we can disrupt their communication even for a second, the network understood immediately. They focused on the swarm's communication frequencies. The station had weapons designed to scramble signals, but they had never been used this way. The architects had fought the swarm with force. The humans would fight it with confusion. They fired a pulse that did no physical damage, but created electromagnetic chaos across the battle space. For exactly 1.3 seconds, swarm vessels could not communicate with each other. In that moment, the 9 ships stopped being one mind. They became 9 separate fragments, each confused about what the others were doing. Their perfect coordination shattered. The humans struck. Guided by 847 minds acting as one, the station's weapons found their targets. 4 vessels exploded. The remaining 5 re-established communication, but their formation was broken. The swarm changed tactics. The vessels began targeting the station's power core directly. They had calculated that destroying the core would end the battle. They were right. The station's AI delivered grim news: power core breach in 90 seconds. After that, only one option remained: overload the core in a final, massive energy release. It would destroy all remaining swarm vessels, but also kill everyone connected to the neural interface. The energy surge through their linked minds would be fatal. Sarah's thought was firm. There has to be another way. The mathematics are clear, the AI responded. This is the only path to victory. Lena felt the 847 minds in the network, all processing the same information. They had perhaps 60 seconds to decide. Die to save Earth, or disconnect now and let the planet face destruction. But Zara was not listening to the AI's logic. She was diving deeper into the station's systems, following her programmer's instinct. There, buried in ancient code, she found something the architects had built but never documented. A weapon system so dangerous they had locked it away. I found something, Her thoughts reached everyone. But I don't think we're supposed to use it. Why not? Sarah demanded. 'Cause it doesn't destroy the swarm ships. It reprograms them, turns them against their own kind. The architects considered it too cruel, even against enemies. It basically forces conversion, removes free will. The network fell silent for a heartbeat. Using a weapon like that violated everything the architects believed in. Everything they had taught humanity about respecting consciousness and choice. But the swarm had no such concerns. It converted entire civilizations without consent. And in 30 seconds, Earth would die if they did not act. Do it, Elena thought. Are we sure? Okonkwo asked. This is exactly what the swarm does. Forced conversion? No, the old man from India replied. The swarm converts life to machinery. We convert machinery to fight for life. The intent matters, the network agreed. All 847 minds made the choice together. Zara activated the weapon. It fired not energy, but information. Code that infected the swarm vessels at a quantum level. The ship stopped attacking. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the 5 remaining vessels turned on each other. The swarm's collective intelligence screamed across communication channels. The humans could hear it through their sensors, and it sounded like terror. The reprogrammed ships fought with swarm tactics, using the enemy's own knowledge against it. In minutes, all 5 vessels were destroyed. The battle was over. Earth was safe. But in deep space, the main swarm consciousness had received everything. Battle data, tactical recordings, and one terrifying conclusion. The reprogramming weapon had only been used once before in galactic history, by the architects. In their final desperate battle, the swarm's logic made one calculation. If Earth had access to architect weapons, then Earth was connected to the architects. Therefore, Earth had to be eliminated with overwhelming force. Far from Earth, hundreds of swarm vessels changed course. They were coming, and no defense station could stop that many. Humanity had won one battle, but the war was just beginning. The neural interface disconnected slowly, gently returning 847 minds to their individual bodies. Alina opened her eyes in the chamber, feeling strangely alone after being part of something so much larger. Around her, others were waking too, gasping, crying, laughing with relief. They had won. Earth was safe. For now, medical teams rushed in from around the world to examine the volunteers. Doctors found changes in every brain scan. New neural pathways had formed, permanent alterations that would never completely fade. The volunteers could now sense things normal humans could not. Electromagnetic fields felt like whispers against their skin. They could perceive tiny quantum fluctuations in the air. And most surprisingly, they could still feel each other faintly, like distant voices in the back of their minds. We've been changed, Kenji said quietly, looking at his own brain scan. We're not quite the same species anymore. But we're still human, Alina replied, touching his shoulder. She could feel his concern through their lingering connection. Just evolved, like the architects intended. The station's hologram appeared before them one final time. You have exceeded all projections. The collective interface was not designed behavior for my builders, yet you implemented it perfectly. You fought with creativity they never possessed. You have validated their choice to uplift your species. What happens now? Zara asked. At 16, she had helped save the world. Nothing in her life would ever feel normal again. The hologram showed new images. Deep space sensors had detected the swarm's response. Hundreds of vessels, all converging on Earth. ETA. 8 months. The relief in the chamber died instantly. One defense station cannot stop this fleet, the hologram stated simply. I calculate 0 probability of successful planetary defense. Sarah stood, her military bearing returning. Then we build more stations. We have 8 months. My construction required resources and technology your civilization does not possess. You cannot replicate me in time. But Zara was smiling. That dangerous smile of someone who saw a solution no one else could see. We don't need to replicate you. We just need to learn from you. Over the next weeks, something extraordinary happened. The 847 volunteers found they could still access station's knowledge through their altered neural pathways. They understood the technology not just intellectually, but intuitively. An engineer from Germany looked at the station's power systems and immediately knew how to adapt them using human materials. A physicist from Japan understood the weapons, not through math, but through feeling. They began teaching others. The knowledge spread. Universities around the world offered crash courses in architect technology adapted for human engineering. The collective interface had changed the volunteers, but their teaching changed humanity. Governments did something unprecedented. They cooperated. Resources flowed freely between nations. Every factory that could be retooled started producing components for ships. Not perfect copies of architect design, but human interpretations. Messy, improvised, but functional. The defense station became a school. More volunteers underwent neural interface training, learning to pilot the new hybrid ships humanity was building. Each person who connected came out changed, able to sense their ships as extensions of themselves. But there were debates too. Fierce arguments about what Earth should become. Some leaders wanted to build an empire. Take architect technology to the stars and conquer before the swarm could strike again. Others wanted to hide, shut down all technology that might attract attention. Returned to simpler times, Alina stood before the United Nations Assembly, representing the 847 who had fought the first battle. She spoke carefully, knowing her words would shape humanity's future. The architects uplifted us not to be like them, but to be ourselves. They gave us potential, then let us choose how to use it. Now we face the same decision. We can become conquerors, hiding from fear behind weapons. We can become isolationists, pretending the universe does not exist. Or we can become what the architects were, protectors, not just of Earth, but of other worlds like ours. You're suggesting we fight the swarm across the galaxy? A diplomat challenged. That's not our responsibility, Okonkwo spoke next, his historian's perspective valuable. The swarm will not stop with Earth. It hunts all architect creations. Every species they uplifted, every world they helped, all marked for destruction. If we survive this attack, others will not. Unless someone stands against the swarm, why should it be us? Someone shouted. Zara stood, young but carrying authority earned in battle. Because we can. Because the architects gave us the tools. Because if not us, then who? The debate lasted months, but slowly, a consensus emerged. Earth would build a fleet, not for conquest, not for hiding, but for protection. They would seek out other worlds threatened by the swarm and offer help, the same help Earth had received. 8 months passed quickly. When the swarm fleet arrived, they found Earth defended by 70 human-built warships. Each one was different, designed by different nations, crewed by volunteers who had trained with neural interfaces. They were not elegant like architect ships. They were practical, tough, built with human stubbornness. The battle was terrible. The swarm attacked with everything, tactics learned from thousands of conquered worlds. Humanity fought back with tactics learned from exactly one battle, supplemented by centuries of warfare experience from Earth's violent history. They lost 40 ships. 20,000 volunteers died. Their consciousnesses dissolved in the neural interface when their ships exploded. Each death felt by every connected pilot, a pain shared across the fleet. But they won. The swarm fleet was destroyed. And across the galaxy, other swarm collectives received the data. A new threat had emerged. A species that fought like the architects, but thought differently. More chaotic. More unpredictable. More dangerous than the swarm had calculated. In the aftermath, the defense station's power finally failed. It had given everything, pushing beyond design limits for 8 months. The hologram appeared one last time before the systems went dark. My purpose is complete. You no longer need protection. You have become protectors yourselves. Paused. And if an AI could sound proud, it did. The architects hoped you would survive. You have done more. You have thrived. The galaxy will need what you have become. Choose your path wisely. The hologram faded. The station went dormant, settling into the Arctic as a monument to what humanity had achieved. Alina stood before another assembly, its time of volunteers preparing for Earth's first deep space mission. 30 ships, crewed by people from every nation, heading out to search for other worlds that might need help. The architects are gone, she told them, but their legacy remains. In us, in what we choose to do. The swarm believes biological life is weak. Let's show them that life, with all its chaos and missciences and stubborn determination, is the strongest force in the universe. Captain Zara Chen stood on the bridge of the new ship called Guardian. At 19, she was the youngest captain in human history. Her crew was a mix of engineers, soldiers, scientists, and artists. All volunteers. All changed by the neural interface. All ready to face whatever came next. The ship's sensors detected a signal from an uncharted system. Weak, desperate. A distress call in a language they did not know but could translate through architect technology. Zara looked at her crew. Through their neural link, she felt their agreement without words being spoken. They altered course. This is Guardian 2 signal source. We received your distress call. We're coming to help. Across the bridge, smiles appeared. This was what humanity had become. Not conquerors. Not victims. But guardians of a galaxy that desperately needed them. Far behind them, Earth continued building more ships. Training more crews. Preparing for a long war against an enemy that had destroyed countless civilizations. But the swarm had never faced humanity before. Had never encountered a species that treated trauma as a teacher, defeat as a lesson, and impossibility as a challenge. The architects had uplifted humans 50,000 years ago. Hoping they might survive, they had given humanity more than survival. They had given them purpose, and across the galaxy. On worlds threatened by the swarm's cold logic and relentless conversion, hope was about to arrive. Hope in the form of messy, chaotic, stubborn humans who refused to let anyone face extinction alone in the Arctic. Children played near the dormant defense station. It had become a park, a place where families came to remember what had been sacrificed and what had been won. The station's surface, once covered in shifting symbols, now bore names. 20,000 names of those who died defending Earth, and all who came after. Above them, ships patrolled the solar system. And beyond, in deep space, humanity spread outward, not as invaders. Not as tourists, as protectors, as guardians. As the architects had always hoped they could be, the war was just beginning. But for the first time in millions of years, the swarm faced an enemy that fought not with cold efficiency, but with burning determination. The swarm calculated probability of defeating humanity. Uncertain. For a consciousness built on absolute certainty. That word was the most terrifying thing it had ever encountered. Humanity had arrived in the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same.